He moved along her fence with a box of matches and jars, lighting them one by one until the posts held small suns. The boy didn't turn when she stepped out. "Put that out," she said. He lit another jar. "Mama said you'd only come back if it glowed." "I'm right here." "Not the same," he said. "Whose boy are you?" "Hers." "That tells me nothing." "It tells you enough." She came closer. His shirt was thin. His hands were scraped. A new match showed a line in his cheek she knew and did not want to know. "Your name?" "People call me Dell." "What does your mama call you?" "Boy." He set the jar. "You got more fence than jars." "You got more nerve than sense," she said. "Why my fence?" "Because this is where you said you'd come back." "I said no such thing." "You did when you left. You didn't say goodbye." She said that was the same as a promise. "You need to go home." "Home is why I'm here." Mama said wait, light, and you'd know. "I don't." He nodded like he expected the lie and lit another jar. "Do you ever think someone might see this?" she asked. "That's the point," he said. "People notice a line." She took the next jar because his fingers shook. "Are you hungry?" "No." "When did you eat last?" "Yesterday when it was still light." "That's today." "It isn't anymore." "I have bread." "Bread is fine," he said, "but I can't come in. You just walked onto my land." "Inside is different," he said. "Inside is where people say they don't remember." "Who told you that?" "Mama. She said your kitchen forgot her name." "My kitchen has nothing to do with your mother. Then why does the floor still creak where she stood?" "How old are you?" "Old enough to choose where to wait." "And you chose here." "Mama chose," he said. "I carry the fire." "What did she tell you to ask me?" "She said, ask for the thing you promised. It has your name on the envelope. The man with the badge kept it because stamps scare people. You leave the sheriff out of your talk." "They're not talking," he said. "They're the parts people don't say." "Wait by the fence. I'll bring bread." "It keeps people honest," he said, and stayed. Inside she cut bread, took a small jar of jam, and came back. 4 more jars were lit. She handed him the bread. "Thank you," he said. "You don't sleep much." "How do you know that?" "Your windows." "She's wrong," she said in reflex. "She's not," he chewed. "Mama said you left because the room got small. A man told you the truth had to be folded to fit his files." "Enough," she said. "What do you want from me?" "To stand here," he said. "To let it glow. To make you remember the part you put down." "What part is that?" "The one with my name in it." "We've been over your name." "Not the one you gave," he said. "The one you wrote." Wind pushed a thin sound through the fence. The jars flickered. She felt the old paper she had folded under flour sacks. "If you think I have something, say it." "Mama said you promised to take her to the courthouse, and you didn't." "She didn't show." "She did," he said. "You didn't open the door." She saw the knob cold in her hand and the voice on the other side. "I won't talk about that day." "You don't have to," he said. "You just have to stand here while it lights." "It's late," she said. "People will see." "They're supposed to. They'll ask you what she wanted. You'll have to say it plain." "I don't owe them plain words." "You owe her," he said. "She said to tell you she ran out of matches." Something in her dropped. The line of jars drew a gate where the fence sagged. It looked like a door. She thought of a letter with her name spelled wrong by a shaking hand. "Where is she now?" "Waiting," he said. "Where?" "I can't say until you bring the thing." "What thing?" "The envelope," he said. "It has the stamp with the bird. It has names that make men quiet. You can't be sure of any of this." "I am sure you kept it." She stared at the house. Boards felt like fingers pointing. "If I find it," she said, "what then?" "Then we go where she is." "Then she stops waiting." "And if I don't?" "Then we stay," he said. "All night if we have to." "We light until it looks like day." She wanted to say no. "Start at the back posts. The nails hold better." He nodded and moved. She went to the porch, then turned. "Are you cold?" "I'm fine." "You're not." "You have a coat?" "I have a coat," she said. "It isn't yours." He smiled and went back to work. She went inside, opened the drawer under the breadboard, and found the envelope where she'd left it years ago. The bird stamp was faded. She held it until the house felt too small again. When she stepped out, the fence was a river of light. The boy looked up. "You found it." She held up the envelope. "Where's your mama?" she asked. "Where the fence ends," he said. "She said make it glow so you'd see the turn." They stood in the lantern light. She slipped the envelope into her coat pocket and stepped off the porch. "Come on," she said. "We walk while it's bright." He sat on her porch steps with his knees pulled tight, the last of the bread untouched beside him. The lanterns burned steady along the fence. She came out with a plate, pressed it into his hands. "Eat." I said I'm not hungry. "You look at it." "I'm waiting." "For what?" "For you to say you know me." "I don't." "She said you'd know me." His voice was flat, no tremble, no question. It worked under her skin. She stood with arms crossed, watching him stare at the lanterns. "You can't stay out here all night." "I can." "Not on my porch." He looked up. "You scared?" "Of a boy." You're scared of what people say when they see." She didn't answer. The road was empty now, but it wouldn't stay that way. People talked when light cut through dark. She sat down on the other end of the step, careful not to touch. "Your mama sent you. She said sit till you're seen." "Seen by who?" "You." "And if I don't?" "Then I sit." The matchlit jars hummed with faint glass cracks. She rubbed her hands uneasy. "You're sure of yourself." "I'm sure of her." "Your mama's wrong." "She never was wrong about you." That cut deeper than she wanted. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "Where's she now?" "Waiting." "That's no place." "It's where you left her." "I left nobody." "You left her at the door." She turned her face away, the memory pressing hard, the sound of knocking. The silence she gave back. He reached for the bread again, but only held it. "She said you'd keep it whole. She said your hands were steady." "My hands have nothing to do with this." "They wrote her wrong in the papers," he said. "You didn't fix it." She snapped. "I can't fix the world." "You could have fixed her." The words landed sharp. She rose, pacing the porch. "You'll leave at first light." "I'll still be here." "You think I won't make you?" "You won't." "And why not?" "Because you hear her the same as me." The jar flames fluttered as if they knew. She pressed her palm against the railing. From down the road, two figures slowed, looking toward the glow. Voices drifted. What's she done now? Another stray, another secret. The boy lifted his head but didn't speak. The whispers crawled closer, then faded as the figures walked on. "You see?" she said. "This is trouble. It's the truth. It's a story. Truth is stories people don't bury deep enough." She bit down her reply. He wasn't old enough to speak that way, but his eyes, still fixed, knowing, were older than his voice. She sank back to the step. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Just for you to say you remember." "And if I don't?" "I sit." He leaned his head back against the post, closing his eyes like the matter was settled. Her gaze followed the fence line, glowing against night. She thought of the letter in her coat pocket, of the name inside, of the promise she'd folded in half and never spoken. "You can't light your way into the past," she said. "It's already lit," he whispered. "All I did was carry fire here." She stood quickly, too quickly, as if to escape the weight. The lantern swayed with her movement. Inside, the clock ticked. The window panes showed her reflection, and behind it, the boy sitting, unmoving, like part of the wood. Neighbors' whispers would return by morning. They would ask questions. They would connect him to names she had tried to forget. She pressed her forehead to the glass and whispered only to herself, "What have you done to me?" On the porch, the boy opened his eyes. "She said you'd ask that." The flames along the fence flared once, holding steady as if they too were listening. The crunch of gravel came before the knock. She knew the sound of his boots, the drag of his breath, the pause before authority stepped into a house. The boy pressed close against her dress, fingers hooked into the fabric. The sheriff stood at the porch edge, hand on the badge like it weighed more than iron. His eyes caught the line of lanterns still glowing along the fence. "You want to tell me why your place looks like a graveyard carnival?" She folded her arms. "It's just light." "It ain't just light. Half the town's talking. You got a boy sitting here saying things that sound like ghosts." The boy spoke up soft. "Mama said it had to glow." The sheriff squinted down at him. "And who's your mama?" "She said you'd know." "Is that so?" He turned his gaze back to the woman. "Doesn't he look like her? Don't you see?" Her jaw tightened. "I don't see anything but a child who wandered too far." The sheriff stepped closer. "Child's got her face. Same brow, same eyes. Don't tell me you don't see. I see a tired boy who needs rest, that's all. Are you denying what's in front of you? I'm denying nothing I can't prove. The boy tugged at her dress again. She said you'd tell him. Quiet, she whispered. The sheriff's voice hardened. Are you hiding something here? Nothing but a stray. He leaned in, lowering his voice. Folks still remember what went missing. Papers never printed the truth, but memory doesn't fade that quickly. A boy shows up with her name in his mouth. People will tie knots. You understand? She swallowed, her throat dry. I understand gossip. Gossip don't light fences with fire. Gossip doesn't carry her face. The boy looked up at him, unflinching. She promised Mama. The sheriff's eyes flicked, unsettled for a breath. Promised what? Not yours to hear, the boy said. Boy, don't play games with me. He's not playing, the woman said sharply. Leave him be. The sheriff's hand tapped the badge like it might answer for him. You know this ain't simple. Folks have been waiting for cracks to show. This question mark, this is a crack. She stood taller, pulling the boy against her side. Then let them wait longer. You can't hold off forever. I've held off long. Enough. The sheriff's mouth pressed thin. You're protecting him. Why? Because he's a child. Because he's hers. No. Yes, the sheriff said. And if he's hers, then you're tied too. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly. I buried things I shouldn't. I let papers say less than they knew. I carried lies for years. And now he's here like proof walking. The boy spoke again. She said the truth walks on its own legs. The sheriff blinked, rattled. That sounds like her mouth. God help us. The woman tightened her grip on the boy's hand. Go back to town. Leave this porch. You think hiding will stop it? I think it's none of your concern. My concern is order. If people start digging, they'll find bones. You want that? Her eyes didn't waver. Better bones than silence. The sheriff's breath caught. He studied her face, then the boy's. You always were stubborn. And you always were a coward. The words hung heavy, the lanterns trembling in their glass. The sheriff stepped back, jaw tight, eyes hard. This ain't done. You can't deny forever. People will force the truth out, one way or another. She didn't answer. She stood rooted, the boy clinging, his small hand gripping fabric like an anchor. Finally, the sheriff turned. Boots crunched gravel again, slow, heavy, leaving the glow behind. When the sound faded, the boy whispered, He knows. Let him, she said, though her voice cracked. The boy leaned closer. She said it starts this way, with him, with you. She looked down the road, the lantern still burning, and felt the weight settle deeper than the badge he carried. By dusk, the fence glowed brighter than it ever had. 23 jars burned in a perfect line. She hadn't helped light them, but she hadn't stopped him either. They came in ones and twos, on foot, on slow trucks, men in tired boots, women with tight mouths, children who didn't speak. They stood just outside the reach of the fence watching. No one crossed it. No one called her name, but they stared like they expected something. Inside she paced. The boy sat on her porch again, his legs tucked under him like a dog waiting for its owner. You're drawing them here, she snapped. He didn't look at her. They came on their own. No one comes out this far unless they smell blood. They smell memories, he said. Big difference. She stepped out fast, letting the door bang behind her. What do you want? He finally looked up. Mama said you owe. Ow, what? You know. Don't play games with me, boy. I'm not. What do I owe her? A name, a place, a page that says she was here. She was here, not on paper. She dropped to the steps, her hands shaking. They told me it wouldn't change anything, that the record was full, that no one would believe it. They didn't need to believe it, he said. You just needed to write it down. I was scared. He stared. So was she. Every time someone knocked. She had no right to use my name. She didn't. She asked you to use hers. The lanterns crackled. The crowd at the fence stood still, as if the night pressed against their backs. She looked toward them. You think they came for the truth? They came to see if you'd finally say it out loud. What if I won't? He didn't blink. Then the light keeps growing. You're threatening me now. I'm not the threat, he said. Silence is. She stood again, heart thudding. You want me to go out there, say her name like a sermon? He stood too. Say it like it matters. They'll call her things. They already did. She just wanted you to say something that wasn't hate. The crowd shuffled. A girl whispered. A man spat. A lantern flared. She wasn't mine to protect. She thought you were the only one who would. A woman near the fence called, "Is it true then?" Another followed. "Is the boy hers?" She didn't answer. The boy whispered, "Mama said you used to sing to her." When no one was listening. I was young. So was she. She was on fire. You let them douse her. Tears welled, uninvited. I didn't know how to help. You did. You just didn't want the burn. She stepped toward the gate. The crowd hushed. "What's her name?" someone asked. She opened her mouth. Nothing came. The boy stepped beside her. "Say it," she whispered. "Juna." Louder. Her name was Juna May. The murmurs rolled. Some turned away. Some stepped closer. She came here with nothing, just a coat and a baby. The boy didn't move. She asked me to write her in, on my land deed, as kin, as a witness. I didn't. Why not? I was afraid they'd take everything. You let them take her instead. She sank to the dirt. I know. A woman near the fence crossed over, kneeling beside her. We knew. We just didn't want to say it at first. The boy turned. She said you would. The woman on the ground looked up. Is she still alive? The boy's eyes narrowed. She's watching. Lanterns popped as the wind shifted. The jars rattled. She asked me to write one thing, the woman said. What was it? That she belonged. The crowd pressed closer. The fence wasn't a border now. It was a meeting place. The boy touched the woman's shoulder. Mama said when it glowed enough, you'd know where to go. Where? He pointed past the last post, the place with the stone and no name. She's buried. He nodded. Not properly. She deserves it, the woman whispered. She does. He looked at her. Are you ready to come with me? She stood, wiping dirt from her knees. You think it's still there? It never left. She faced the crowd. Anyone who remembers, come. If not for her, then for the truth. One by one they followed. The fence line held steady behind them. The boy walked ahead, lantern in hand. The envelope came at noon, slid under her door without a knock. Heavy paper, thick seal. The mark on the wax burned red. She picked it up with the tips of her fingers like it might bite. The boy sat at the table, quiet, watching her. She didn't open it right away, set it down beside the bread knife and paste. Who's it from? You don't need to know. You already do. She sighed, sat, and broke the seal. The wax cracked like a bone. She read in silence, jaw tightening with each line. The letter wasn't long, but every word coiled, formal language, official phrases, yet every sentence hit like a hand pressed against her throat. She finished reading, folded it twice, slid it under a jar lid. What's it say? It says, I've been seen. By who? The governor. The boy blinked. He knew Mama too. She froze. You don't say his name. I didn't. You know what this means? Yes, he said. It means he's scared. Her voice cracked. Number it means he remembers. The boy leaned forward. He was the one who told her to leave. You're too young to know that. She told me before she got sick. Said he promised to keep her secret if she stayed gone. She told you that? Word for word. She stood, pushed her chair back so hard it thudded. The air felt like it thickened. She grabbed the letter again. He says the firelights reached the courthouse. He says the sheriff's lost control. He says I'm unfit to own property if I can't keep quiet. The boy didn't flinch. He's late. He's still governor. So he can take everything. You mean again? Her breath caught. He stared. Mama said she trusted one person. She said it was you. She sank to the floor, letter in hand. She shouldn't have, but she did. He buried the record, threatened the doctor, made her disappear. You watched. She looked at him. I didn't know how to fight him. You do now. She laid the letter beside her. He says I have 2 days to stop the gatherings. He says I need to send you away. The boy looked at her like she was the one lost. You gonna do it? No. He smiled, just faintly. But I don't know what happens if I don't. He comes. She closed her eyes. He doesn't show up. He sends men. He won't this time. Why? Because this isn't quiet anymore. She looked at the jars along the sill, their flames steady even in the light. He used to call me the silent one. Said I was good at disappearing. Said I should teach others. The boy frowned. You're not silent. I was. You're not now. She rose slowly, picked up the letter. You really think he knew her? I think he feared her. She was too young. She was too loud, he said. Louder than you ever were. She wanted a name. She wanted hers back. The wind pushed against the house like it was listening. What do we do with this? She asked. Burn it. He'll know. He already knows, the boy said, but he doesn't know you're ready. She lit the corner over the stove, watched it curl, blacken. The wax cracked again, melting in a slow drip. The boy whispered, Mama said fire was cleaner than silence. She nodded. She was right. She came outside before dawn with a pail full of water, and the sleeves of her blouse rolled past her elbows. The fence glowed like a spine in the dark. She moved to the nearest jar and doused it. The wick hissed. Steam rose. The light died. She moved to the second. It took longer. The flame bent, sputtered, then gave in. The boy sat on the porch, arms wrapped around his legs, watching. You don't have to, he said. I do. You don't want to? I never said that. You don't have to say it. I can see it. She ignored him. Her boots sank into the soil. She went to the third jar. The glass fogged under the splash, but the wick stayed lit. She frowned, poured again. The flame blinked, vanished. Then, before she stepped away, reignited. She stood still, lips tight. You're playing games. No, the boy said. Fire remembers. That's not how fire works. It is, if it's lit from memory. That's nonsense. He got up, slow, like someone twice his age. Mama said fire keeps memories alive. She said the truth you hide will light itself. She doused the next 2 jars fast, hand shaking. Truth's got nothing to do with it. This is oil and glass and weather. You can't kill what's been named, he said. She wheeled around. What name? Her name? He didn't blink. It's still hers. This was just a mistake, she said. She came here broken. I tried to help. You tried to hide. She begged me. She begged you to remember. I tried, she whispered. He looked past her, down the long stretch of fence. Flames flickered and held. Why won't they go out? She asked. Because she's not gone yet. The sun broke faint over the ridge. She watched it pass over the fence line. The flames didn't care about light. They glowed just the same. By noon, 4 new jars appeared. She hadn't put them there. She didn't see who had. By 2 o'clock, there were 12. She watched from the porch as 2 boys on bicycles dropped off another jar, lit it, and rode away without a word. The boy watched too. They remember her. They don't even know her. They remember what she stood for. She stood for survival. That's all. And for you. She looked down at her hands. That's not something I deserve. The boy's voice was quiet. That's not for you to decide. By evening, people slowed their trucks as they passed. Some honked. Some stared. A woman from the church left a lantern at the gate with a note tied to it. It read, "She helped me when no one else did." The woman tore it down. They're making this a shrine. It already was, the boy said. She turned. You still want me to dig up what's dead? She's not dead, he said. Not where it matters. At nightfall, the sheriff came back. She didn't offer him coffee. He didn't ask. You think you're winning something here, he said. She leaned against the porch rail. I'm not trying to win. You're stirring. They're stirring. I just live here. He stepped onto the first step, the wood creaking. This ain't gonna end quiet. I know. I got pressure from the top. You know what that means? Letters, men in suits, threats wrapped in smiles. Worse, he said. They're scared. She raised an eyebrow. Of me? Of what you're letting happen. Fire makes people remember. Maybe that's the point. They'll turn on you. Let them. The boy appeared behind her. They already did once. The sheriff looked at him. Still here? Still waiting. What for now? For the town to admit it. Admit what? That they knew. That they watched. That they helped. The sheriff glanced at the fence, jaw tight. You can't hold this line. I don't have to, the woman said. It's holding itself. He nodded slowly. You light one more jar, I'll have to step in. The boy handed her a fresh one, already glowing. She didn't flinch. The sheriff stared, then turned and walked away. You just crossed something, she said. The boy nodded. Mama said once the sheriff walks off without a word, the fire's yours. She set the jar on the last post where the wind was strongest. The flame didn't move. They stood in silence. From down the road, more footsteps came. More light followed. It wouldn't stop now, and she no longer wanted it to. The knock came just before midnight. Software 3 times. She didn't ask who it was. She opened the door and found the boy standing there barefoot, eyes wide but steady. He held a coil of rope in his hand. "You ready?" "For what?" "Well," he said. She said it remembers better at night. She hesitated only a moment before grabbing her coat. No words after that. They walked without speaking, her lantern swinging between them. The flame never flickered. The well sat at the back of the property, half sunk, rim cracked, overgrown with vines and silence. No one had used it in decades. "Why now?" she asked. "Because it's time." "She dropped something, you said?" "She said it was yours." "I didn't drop anything down here." "She did. For you." He tied the rope to the post beside the well, tested it with a pull. She held the lantern high, shadows bent inward. "You trust it'll hold." It held her, he said. Her hands felt wrong against the stone, cold like blame. She fed the rope down slowly. It scraped the side. "How far?" "Not far." She kept lowering. It went slack. "What now?" "Pull." She pulled. At first, just the creak of damp wood, then a weight, heavy and uneven. She backed up with effort. The rope rubbed raw against her palms. It emerged slowly, covered in silt, wrapped in burlap. Tin underneath. A box. Rusted shut. He didn't speak. Just wait. She crouched beside it and tore the burlap. Her fingers slipped on the metal. She wedged it open with a flat rock. The lid groaned. Inside, photos, letters, a folded birth certificate, a cloth badge stained dark, and a spoon bent at the neck. Her breath caught. She lifted one photo. Her, younger. Juna beside her, smiling with teeth too big. The boy, barely a blur between them. "I didn't know she kept these." "She didn't. She buried them. For you." She ran her fingers over the badge. It still had the county seal. Faded now. "She never worked for them," she whispered. "No," he said. "But they made her wear it. Made it look right." "This was mine," she said. He nodded. "I gave it back. They said that wasn't enough. They said she needed to disappear, and you needed to stay." Her hand trembled. "I wrote her a letter once. Told her to fight." She read it, said it made her cry in the dirt. "I thought I was helping." "You were scared." She closed the lid, pulled it close to her chest. "She wanted you to have it back." "Why?" "So you'd remember what silence cost." She looked down at the ground. "I should have gone with her that night." She waited. "I told her I'd meet her at the courthouse." "You didn't." "I didn't think they'd hurt her." "They didn't have to," he said. "They just erased her." The wind pressed through the trees, soft like breath. "She wanted this dug up," she said. "Now what?" "You bury it again," he said. "But this time you bury it where people can see." "That's not how burying works." "It is now." She stood. "Hold the box tighter. You think it'll make a difference?" He looked at her. "Mama said the truth doesn't change people. It just shows them." "I'm not ready to be shown." "You already are." She turned toward the house, slow. "I'll find a place." "The porch," he said. She always liked sitting there. She liked to watch the road. She thought you'd come back from town with her name in your hand. I came back empty. She still waited. At the steps, she paused. "You want people to see this?" He nodded. "I want them to read every word," she said. He didn't answer, just sat down beside the well. "You're not coming?" "Not yet." "You're waiting again?" He looked up at the sky. She said memory stays longer under stars. She didn't ask what that meant. She just went inside. The next morning, the box sat on the porch table, unlocked, open, a sign beside it. Her name was Juna May. By afternoon, a crowd had gathered. They read in silence. Some wept, some looked away, but none of them left empty. The sheriff showed up just after dusk, his truck kicking dust over the fence line. He didn't honk, didn't knock, just stood at the porch rail, hands on his hips, watching the woman as she set a tin box down between them. "I got your message," he said. She didn't speak at first. She opened the box instead. The lid creaked. Inside, a stack of letters, yellowed with age, each folded with care. A photo, a badge, a bent spoon. She lifted the first page. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. She looked at the boy, who sat on the porch steps with his knees drawn tight. Then she looked back. "I'm done hiding." The sheriff shifted. "You know what's in there." "I know exactly." "And you still want to read it out loud?" She unfolded the first letter. "That's why I called you." He sighed, pulled off his hat, and stepped closer. "This ain't a courtroom." "No," she said. "That's the problem." She began to read, voice low but steady. August 11th. They said if I named the man, they'd call me a liar. So I didn't. They said if I claimed the child, they'd say I stole him. So I didn't. But you told me the truth would cost too much, and still, I came to you. The sheriff looked away. The woman kept going. September 2nd. They said I could keep the badge, just not the authority. They said I could stay quiet and get a check. But I gave the badge back and walked away. I never stopped bleeding for it. "Don't stir ghosts," he muttered. The boy looked up. "Ghosts stirred you first." The sheriff flinched. "Watch your mouth." "He's not wrong," the woman said. "You were there. You heard her testify. You watched them seal the file." He looked back at her. "I didn't make that call, but you didn't stop it. I was a deputy then. I didn't have power. You had ears. You had eyes. You had a badge." He looked at the porch boards beneath his boots. She didn't want trouble. She wanted to be heard. The boy stood now, slow and quiet. She said the sheriff promised to protect her. He sat at her table and told her not to worry. She was scared, the man said. "She trusted you," the woman snapped. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I thought silence was safer." The woman picked up the next letter. October 9th. They moved me again. No notice, no reason. I asked for my file, and they said I didn't exist. I asked for my son, and they said he was already claimed. I asked for justice, and they offered me a church basement. The sheriff swallowed. "I remember the transfer. I just thought it was routine." "It was punishment," she said, "for asking questions." He sat down on the porch rail, face pale. "You want me to confess. I want you to acknowledge what was done." The boy walked to the box and pulled out the folded birth certificate. "Look, no name for father, no name for mother, just a date, a number, and a stamped line that says state custody. That was me." The sheriff took it, stared. "They told me he'd been placed legally." "They lied," the woman said, "and you let them." "I didn't know." "You didn't ask." He handed the paper back, slower than before. "What do you want from me?" "Say her name," the boy said, out loud. The woman added, "So people know you remember." He hesitated. "I looked down the road where the lanterns burned." "Juna May," he said. The name came rough. The woman nodded. Again, "Juna May." "Say what she was." He looked up. "She was a mother. She was mine to protect. And I failed her." The boy stood still, listening. "I told her it'd be safer if she disappeared," the sheriff said. "That people wouldn't believe her. That if she kept quiet, they'd leave her alone." "They didn't," the boy said. "No," he admitted. "They didn't." The woman held up another letter. "She wrote this 2 days before she vanished. I lit a candle in your name. I prayed that someone would remember I was here. If you find this, I hope you tell me out loud, because they never did." The sheriff rubbed his hands together. "How many letters?" 27. Jesus. Each one dated. Each one ignored me. He looked at the crowd now forming at the edge of the yard. No one spoke. No one moved. They just stood and listened. "Are you going to keep reading?" he asked. "Until someone else reads them too." He nodded. "Then give me one." She handed him a folded page. He opened it, eyes scanning slowly, voice unsteady. "They told me I was too loud, that grief should be quiet, that truth should wear a softer dress. I wore mine white that day, and they still said I looked like trouble." He folded the letter again. "She deserved more than this." "She deserved justice," the woman said. "She still does." The boy whispered, and for the first time the sheriff didn't argue. He just nodded and said, "Keep reading." She smelled the smoke. Before she saw the flames, sweet, wrong smoke, oil, paper, and burning cloth, the kind that tried to cover its shame with sweetness. She burst out the front door barefoot, heart hammering. The fence was glowing for the wrong reason. Lanterns shattered one by one. Shadows moved fast across the posts. Men in dark jackets, sleeves rolled. One held a can, the other a torch. "Hey!" she screamed. They turned, just enough to see her before disappearing into the dark, their boots cracking dry soil as they ran. The boy was already outside, already at work. He knelt by a shattered jar, dragging glass aside. They didn't even check the oil. "Get back inside." "No," he said, calm. "They're not done." She grabbed the edge of her porch for balance. Her hands shook. The fire moved like it knew its way. 5 jars gone. 6 more, already flickering. Where did they come from? "Governor's men," the boy said. "They came to stop remembering. They came here. They always do. When the truth gets too loud." She stared at the remains. Glass blackened, flame choking on itself. He stood, holding one jar that hadn't shattered. "They missed this one. It won't matter. It will." He lit it. One jar glowed again, then another, then another. Neighbors appeared at the edge of the property, drawn by the noise, the smoke, the fire. First one woman in slippers, then an old man in his flannel shirt, half-buttoned, then more. They stood at the edge of the road watching. The woman stepped off her porch, arms raised. "Are you going to help, or are you just here to watch it burn?" No one moved. "You all remember her," she shouted. "You remember what they did." Silence. "They're coming back to finish it, just like before." The old man shifted. "Ain't our fight." "It never was," someone else murmured. The boy looked at them. "Then why are you standing here?" No one answered. The woman grabbed a half-burned jar, held it up. "This is all we had left, a line of light. And they came for it." "They always do," the boy said. She stared down the road where the men had vanished. "You think they'll stop with glass?" "No," he said. "Next comes land, then people." She turned back to the crowd. "Are you scared of the governor?" Still, no one moved. "Then burn with me," she snapped. "Or stand." The wind caught the edge of her coat. A flame jumped from one post to another. The boy knelt again, already lighting more, and then, slow, uncertain, a man stepped forward. He picked up an unbroken jar near the edge, pulled a lighter from his pocket, and lit the wick. Then a woman came, then 2 teenagers. They moved along the fence, lighting as they went. The boy smiled faintly. "Mama said fire spreads fastest when people remember why they need it." She exhaled like she hadn't in years. More came, from across the field, down the gravel road, from the church, the diner, the parts of town that always said, "Not my place." Now they stood, hands shaking, lighting flame after flame. She looked down at the boy. "You did this." "No," he said. "They did." The sheriff's truck pulled in slow, headlights off. He stepped out alone, watching the line of fire rebuild itself. "They came," he said. "Yes," she replied. He walked to a jar, picked it up, and stared into the flame. "You going to tell them to stop?" she asked. He looked around. "No point now." "They're watching." "They've always been watching," he said. "Just never from this close." She turned to the boy. "How many were there?" "2. "From the Capitol?" He nodded. She looked at the sheriff. "Will you say it?" "I should have said it years ago." "Say it now." He faced the growing crowd, the flames rising behind them. "They erased her," he said. "We helped them do it." The woman added, "We let it happen." The boy lit another jar. "But we remember." The wind picked up. Sparks swirled across the field. No one ran. They stood in it, together. Lanterns lined the fence again by dawn. Every post, every gap. None of them shattered this time. The sheriff kicked the kitchen door shut with his boot. It slammed against the frame with enough force to rattle the glass jars above the sink. "Sit," he said. The woman didn't move. She stood by the wood stove, flour still on her hands. The boy leaned against the counter, arms crossed, while the 2 governor's men stood near the door, suits creased, collars sharp, faces carved out of something too clean. "No one leaves," the sheriff said. "Not till this comes out." "This isn't a courtroom," one of the men snapped. "Then why are you sweating?" the boy asked. "We came for diplomacy." "You came with fire." The woman stepped forward, slow. "You lit my fence." "Your fence was provoking unrest." "It was light," she said. It was named. It was a memory. Exactly, the taller man said. Memory causes chaos. You want that written in the paper? The sheriff yanked out a chair. If it's true, print it. The boy dropped the tin box onto the table. The lid clanged against the wood. He opened it with both hands and pulled out the letters, the photo, the spoon, the birth certificate, and the badge. Mama said, "Tell it here." One of the men sneered. "That's all sentimental. It's not admissible in any court." "That's why we're here instead," the sheriff said, "because the court refused her." The woman unfolded the top letter. This was written on a church basement floor. They'd moved her 3 times by then. She said her boy was coughing blood, and no doctor would come. "Not our responsibility," the shorter man said. "Whose was it?" the boy asked. "She wasn't. In state housing." "She was under state silence," the woman said. "And you think that's different?" The taller man straightened. "Her assignment was temporary. Her role was fabricated. None of it held weight." "She wore your badge," the sheriff said. "In public." "She was meant to supervise," the man said, "not act, and certainly not speak." The woman laid out another page. "This one says she tried. It says she filed reports, that they were returned without acknowledgement." "That's protocol," the man muttered. "It's punishment," the boy said. "She kept carbon copies in a box lined with cloth, hoping someone would care." The sheriff's hands clenched. "I was one of the signatures on the housing transfer. I didn't even read it." "You just signed?" the woman asked. "I trusted the letterhead." "You trusted the governor," the boy said. "Mama said you always did." The sheriff looked at the boy. "I believed it would help her." "She disappeared 2 weeks later." "That wasn't my call." "No," the woman said. "But you didn't ask whose it was." One of the men opened his briefcase. "You want to talk about legality? We can show you the order. It was approved, stamped, coordinated." "Coordinated," the sheriff repeated. "Like logistics, like inventory." "She wasn't in inventory. She was non-compliant." "She was human," the woman said, "and you made her vanish on paper." "She wrote about you," the boy said, looking at the taller man. "She said you visited her once. You said if she kept quiet, her child would be safe." The man blinked. "That was never recorded." "She didn't need a recorder," the boy said. "She had a memory that wouldn't quit." The room fell still. The sheriff cleared his throat. "Say her name." One of the men scoffed. "You think this fixes something?" "It starts something," the boy said. "She was nothing to us." "She was everything to me," the woman said. "She trusted me, and I turned her away." The sheriff nodded slowly. "Say it." "Juna May," the shorter man said, barely above a whisper. The taller one followed. "Juna May." "She worked, unpaid," the woman said. "She kept order when your men wouldn't. She raised a boy in silence because you told her words were dangerous." The boy pushed the badge forward. "You gave her this, then told everyone it was just decoration." "It was," the man muttered. "No," the sheriff said. "It meant something." The woman lifted the birth certificate. "Blank lines. That's all they gave her. No name for the father, no name for her. Just an empty form pretending to hold a life." "I was just a number," the boy said. "A code they used to make sure I disappeared clean." One of the men looked away. "You turned out fine." "I turned out loud," he said. "That's not the same." The sheriff turned to the men. "You're going to walk back through town today. You'll look at every face you tried to erase, and they'll remember who you are." "We'll be escorted," the tall one said. "No," the woman said. "You'll walk." "And when we say no," the boy answered, "then you'll run, and the fire will follow." They stood there, stiff. "You think this is done?" the woman asked. "This is the start," the sheriff said. "We still have names to say." The boy nodded. "And jars to light." They all looked at the box again, at the paper, the photo, the memory, and none of them said another word. The hammer struck wood before the sun finished rising. She stood at the edge of her land, breath misting in the cold. The tin box opened beside her. Each name she read came from a letter. Each letter came from silence. The first plaque read, "Juna May." She nailed it into the first post, just beneath the lantern glass. The second name, Amaya R., age 6, disappeared 2002. The third, TL, initials only. No records, just a mention in one of Juna's letters. They sent her east. She cried the whole ride. The boy stood beside her. He didn't carry a hammer. He whispered each name as she nailed them in. Like a prayer, like an oath. They moved from post to post. Each tap of the hammer echoed like a heartbeat. By the time the sky turned orange, neighbors began to arrive. First, the old woman from the chapel, eyes wet, hands full of names scribbled on receipts and grocery paper. "I remember her," she said. "She came for bread once. I gave her the end piece. I didn't know." The woman nodded and held out the hammer. The old woman shook her head. "You do it. I did nothing then. This is yours now." The boy took the name, read it aloud, Nora Bell, and handed it to her anyway. Together, they nailed it to the fourth post. By mid-morning, the fence held 10 names, then 20. A man in boots walked from town. He carried a photograph curled at the edges. "My sister, they said she ran off. I never believed it." He didn't speak more, just set the photo at the base of the post. The boy took her name, Rosalind T. Another plaque. The sheriff came near noon. No siren, no truck, just walking, one hand in his coat pocket, the other holding his badge. He didn't speak at first, just watched. Then he bent down, picked up a blank board from the pile, and carved something into it with his pocket knife. Slowly, carefully, the woman glanced over his shoulder. The name, Martha C. He tapped a nail into the wood himself. Not cleanly, not straight. The hammer slipped once, bruising his thumb. Still, he finished. The woman handed him another name. She was in the same house, different bunk. He took it, didn't ask questions, just nailed it beside the one he carved. The boy came up behind him. "You ready?" The sheriff looked down at his badge. "I wore this like it meant something." "It didn't?" the boy asked. "Not the way it should have." He pulled the badge off slow, like it weighed more than lead. Then he dropped it at her feet. "This was never law," he said. "This was the cover." She picked it up, turned it over in her hand. "What do we do with it?" "Let it rust," the boy said. "No," the woman said. "We nail it in." She hammered it above Juname's name, crooked, dented, not as a symbol of power, but as a marker of shame. By afternoon, the fence line held 50 names, more than half she'd never known. Some were guessed, others scratched from rumor and town memory. A few came anonymously, slipped in her mailbox on torn envelope corners. The wind moved differently now, slower, as if reading. The boys stood near the final post and looked down the row. Mama said it would only end when her name didn't stand alone. "It doesn't anymore," the woman said. He nodded, quiet. "What now?" she asked him. "You keep it lit," he said. "That's all. Even if they come again." "They will." She looked out at the people still arriving, young ones, old ones, quiet ones with long memories, loud ones with short tempers, and she said, "Let them." The sun began to set. One neighbor left a candle instead of a lantern. Another brought a wooden spoon carved with initials. Someone else brought a list too long for one post. They split the names, mounted them across two. Before nightfall, the fence became something else. It no longer divided land. I remembered it. The woman stepped back, her arms aching, hands blistered from hammering. But she stood taller than she had in years. She turned to the boy. "You think she sees this?" "She's the one holding the matches," he said, and in the flicker of light, she believed him. He waited until the last name was nailed and the final neighbor had drifted back down the dirt road before moving. The sun was barely a blush behind the trees. Fog clung to the grass, soft as breath. She sat on the porch steps, hands raw, shirt speckled with dirt and ash. The boy stood in front of her holding one last lantern, smaller than the rest, glass chipped, wick already lit. "This one's yours," he said. She looked at the flame. "We lit 52 yesterday. This makes 53. I don't have another post." "It's not for the fence." She stood slowly, knees aching. "Then where?" He extended the lantern toward her. "Mama said if it glows, you'll stay." She took it carefully, eyes never leaving the flickering light. "Stay for what?" "To remember." She held it in her hands. It was warm, but not hot. The kind of heat that felt like breath, not flame. The porch creaked as she stepped onto the boards. He followed, quiet. She set the lantern on the middle rail, just under the window in the exact spot. Juna used to rest her elbow when she stood watching the road. The flame didn't flicker, it pulsed like a heartbeat. She used to say there were two kinds of fire, the woman said, the kind that burns and the kind that holds. She wanted to hold it. I let her burn. The boy didn't correct her, he just stared at the lantern. "They'll come back," she whispered. "Men in suits, quiet ones with pens. They always do. They'll ask me to put it out. You won't. She looked down at him. How do you know? Because it's lit. She sank into the porch chair, the same one that used to groan under Juna's weight after long nights of silence. You're sure she's gone? She left when the fence remembered. And you. The boy blinked slowly. I was only ever meant to stay until the last name was nailed. She looked toward the horizon. Mist curled around the last fence post. Light touched the tops of each plaque. A hum seemed to stretch across the wood. You're leaving. I have to. Where? He didn't answer. She turned back to the lantern. What happens if it goes out? It won't. But if it does, you light it again. And if I forget? You won't. The flame cast long shadows across the porch boards. She thought of the letters, the burned edges of the first jar, the sheriff's hands shaking as he said Juna's name. She thought of the badge nailed crooked above the first plaque. She stood again, walked to the edge of the steps. The fence stretched in both directions now. Light danced over each post. Names caught the sun like truth carved into wood. She turned. The boy was gone from the porch. She stepped down, heart hitching. Boy? No answer. She walked around the side of the house. Empty. She checked the well, the field, the road. Nothing. Her hands trembled as she ran to the last post. No footprints. Just dew. She returned to the porch, heart pounding. The lantern still burned. It sat exactly where she'd left it. No wind moved it. No sound touched it. She sat beside it and whispered, You said I'd remember. And she did. She remembered Juna laughing as she held the boy high in the summer air. She remembered the night Juna knocked and she didn't open the door. She remembered the trembling of the first letter in her hand and the weight of guilt stitched to her name ever since. She remembered silence and what it cost. By noon, the neighbors passed in silence again. Some nodded, some didn't, but none asked why the boy was gone. Somehow, they already knew. By nightfall, no one came. She sat alone, eyes on the flame. When she finally closed her eyes, she did not dream of fire. She dreamed of fences that held names. She dreamed of kitchens that spoke truth. She dreamed of a boy who walked without shoes, carrying a memory like a match. And when she woke, the lantern still glowed. It would glow again the next day, and the one after, and long after she was gone, it would remain. Not fire. Memory. She found it 3 mornings after the boy vanished. Folded in the tin box beneath the last letter, beneath the bent spoon and torn birth certificate, lay a small black ledger. Its cover was cracked, corners bruised, spine nearly split from years of handling. She hadn't seen it before, hadn't touched it when they spread the box open for the sheriff and the governor's men. It hadn't been there. She sat at the kitchen table, a lantern still glowing on the porch outside. The house was silent except for the hum of the stove and the sound of her own breath catching. On the inside cover in looping handwriting, for whoever stays. She turned the first page. Names, not typed, not scribbled, written in careful slanted script. Juna May's hand. She ran her fingers down the list. Every name matched a post. All 53. Some had small notations beside them. I came hungry, stayed quiet. I tried to run, still looking for her sister. Wouldn't say her last name. Each one is real. Each one someone. She flipped to the next page. Dates, addresses, county documents, file numbers she recognized from her time working records for the town clerk. The numbers they said had been destroyed, erased, vanished, but Juna had kept them, and now they are here. She stood slowly, took the ledger to the porch, and set it beside the lantern. Outside, the fence line waited in silence, each name now warmed by light and time. No one had touched the jars since the fire, and yet they still burned. Not a single wick dry, not a single flame out. She turned when she heard footsteps. The sheriff. He looked tired. His coat hung looser on him now. He didn't ask for coffee, just sat on the steps. I thought you were done, she said. I thought I was too. She handed him the ledger. He opened it. His breath caught on the first page. She wrote them all down, he said. She remembered everyone. He turned pages slowly, then stopped. This one, this boy. He went missing during my first year in office. She found him in the records. She found what we didn't want to see, he said. No, she corrected. What you didn't look for. He didn't argue. She sat beside him. What do we do with it? Let me take it, he said. Bring it to the courthouse. And then what? Then I'll stand on the steps and read every name. She raised an eyebrow. They'll bury you. They might. They'll say it's fiction. Then I'll call it testimony. She looked at him. You think people will listen? I think they're already listening, he said. They just haven't decided what to do with what they hear. He stood, cradling the ledger like it might break. You kept it burning. No, she said, glancing at the porch. Lantern. He did. He nodded, started down the steps, then paused. Was he real? Yes, but not in the way we're used to. No, she said. More like a memory, more like fire. He nodded again and walked down the dirt path. She watched until he was a figure in the mist, then gone. She turned to the lantern. Its flame pulsed once, then steadied. She sat beside it, closed her eyes, and listened.